Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Positional Play on Anfield Index. I'm excited for this one, ladies and gents, much like you will be excited for Liverpool this summer because, let's be honest, it is just ramping up beyond belief in terms of incomings and outgoings, and we're not done. You're expecting Florian to arrive sometime this week. It doesn't look like it's going to be a Milos Monday, but you expect him to arrive at some point as well. And there's 1,000,001 questions over the leadership group, attackers, different bits positionally, and we are going to get through it all for you. I'm delighted as ever to be joined. And this is a bit like, when you've got that kid who's got the football, and if you don't let them play, they may just take it home and not let you play. So it is Jack's board, so it's important we've got him on board. But we should ask at the same time, Jack, how are we this morning, sir?
Not too bad, mate. No, I created it for everyone, mate. I'm sharing is caring, as they say anyway. So, yeah, Dave, get used to this season, Dave, Bart and all the lads. But, yeah, I'm excited to get stuck into it, mate, because I think me, you and every Liverpool fan, we're signing some very high caliber quality in the next couple of weeks, hopefully as well. So, yeah, looking forward to this season, mate.
It is going to be interesting. And if we look at that on the screen, ladies and gents, we start with almost the summer so far. And the title-winning team of 24-25, again, there's been variations. But if we look on the screen, that has been the starting lineup, hasn't it, in all honesty, for the majority of the game. Arne Slot's first choice 11. It has seen Diaz as almost the false 9, Gakpo left and Salah. Now, Jack, fortunately, can drag a few bits. So that's what it's looked like on the surface. But it's often been almost Diaz as a false 9, creating almost a box 4, as people would call it. So if we drag Luis Diaz to just in front of Gravenberch almost, and Dominic Szoboszlai to the other side, or probably actually Diaz to the left, Jack, hasn't it? Because Szoboszlai has often been covering that right side as well. There we go. That's what we've looked like most of this season. But there's changes already, Jack, isn't there?
Yeah.
And, mate, we've got to change the right back straight away. But as I'm going to ask it, because we've got to get that man off the screen, is the person you're dragging on your first choice right back for next season as it stands right now?
I nodded my head. Yes and no, mate. I don't think he's going to be having that much adaptation period. I think, obviously, coming from the Bundesliga, Champions League experience, vastly international. Obviously, Dumfries predominantly does play down that right-hand channel. Did play in the last week or so, a bit more higher up the pitch for Holland. So he's got that ability, that speed. I don't think he's going to take any time, really, to adapt. But I think, me personally, I do feel Bradley might start the season. But I think if you're spending 30-odd million on a right back, you'd expect him to come straight in. How do you feel on that one?
Horses for courses a little bit for me. I think you're right. I do get the feeling that it will be Conor Bradley starting the season at right back. Not that there'll be a bit of integration time, but I don't think it'll be huge for Frimpong. However, they do have different skill sets, I think it's fair to say. And from all the reporting, it's quite clear that Liverpool see Frimpong as quote-unquote a right-sided option. And I suspect when, for instance, Mo Salah goes to AFCON, they've already got in mind Frimpong will assert himself in that right wing spot. And like you said, plays that for Holland, doesn't he, with Dumfries often at right back as well. Different formation, of course. But there we go. But that's the starting point. The right back up for debate. Now, Jack, mate, that left-hand side, you're going to have to touch one of the leadership group here. Andy Robbo and these Atletico Madrid reports. What are you making of him?
Gutted, mate. I think, like every Liverpool fan, I think he's antipified everything of a Jurgen Klopp type player. He embodies Liverpool. I think every great Liverpool side in the history of Liverpool is, even go back to the 1920s and all that, the great legendary Welsh players, Scottish players, but every title winning side has always got a Scotsman, an Irishman, or a Welshman anyway. And yeah, he's embodied everything that's been perfect about Liverpool, mate. But caveat that with the last 2-3 seasons, I think every Liverpool fan, even Andy himself, if you'd asked him, he won't say he's played to his brilliant best, But that's what happens when the great Liverpool players of old, 70s and 80s, when they start to just ease up a bit more in terms of the speed, the pace, the athleticism, the ability to get higher up the pitch, up and down. It's a massive asset, especially over the last 20, 30 odd years, the development of sports science and just the overall speed of the modern game. Now, you need that ability to get up and down the pitch. Robbo, sadly, hasn't got that now. But obviously, we'll speak about Kirkes in a little second anyway. But I'm gutted. But I think time, it's a year left. You spoke already in the week. He's got a year left on his contract. I think it's almost right to try and get about 5. I'd like to get about 10 million out of him. But with reports this week, as you alluded to already, and Atletico were allegedly trying to get him on a free and all that. But I think you can get 10 million, but you're getting the wages off the bill. And obviously, it's another debate really about Costas. But in that one, mate, I'll be happy to see him go to a very elite level European side, Atletico Madrid. Kieran Trippier adapted really well, winning the league there over the last couple of seasons prior to his move back to England to Newcastle as well. So he's got all the assets to be one of the best left backs in La Liga. I think that league will really suit him. Look at Azpilicueta, certain other players that have gone from the Premier League that have mainly Azpilicueta and that great Chelsea side that he played. His pace did ease up, and he didn't really take much time to adapt back into life in La Liga. I think he'll do really well.
Yeah, I think if you look at Atletico as well, they do play, especially under El Cholo, quite often a variation of that 4-5-1. It is suited for defensive players as well, so maybe that will be good. But there's a pain to say it, Jack. But mate, you've got to drag Robbo off that pitch, I'm afraid, and we're expecting it. It's not confirmed yet, but Bournemouth have obviously signed a left back today. Trupper, I think it's pronounced. Doesn't really matter, does it? So we are fully expecting Milos Kirkes to come in. And just by the way, people, we'll have to see. Jack sort of dragging them up and down that left and right hand side a second ago. Liverpool's fullbacks will say beep beep roadrunner style to others next season as they go blitzing past them. There is speed in this lineup, so that's the big change for the fullback situation as we stand now. Jack, that's 2 of your back 4 changed if we drag Kirkes and Frimpong back. And obviously, as we said, people, it could be Bradley still, but that's still a variation, is it? With 2 of the back 4 changing there already before we've started, how are you feeling about the potential of changing Ibu there?
Oh, mad to space. A sigh, like all of us. We've done really well defensively last season. I know we conceded some absolute sloppy goals, but I think Arne has already been on record as saying himself, like, and every Liverpool fan, we could probably hark back to certain games where it's certain players, just individual errors that can easily be cut out really this season with the right shape and the right players back into the system. The pace will be a massive facet of that really in terms of transition defensively and transitionally going forward as well. You're not getting caught out as quick as we did last season, mate. Ibu, I love him, mate. I personally don't want him leaving on a free. A player that ability, we've just had trends obviously leaving, but I think highly regarded. You mentioned already this morning on obviously big decisions about the potential of Real Madrid coming in for them. And I think the last couple of weeks, and especially the last 12, 13 months, really, especially getting Kylian Mbappe on a free transfer, really, obviously a big sign-on bonus, which he'll be happy with anyway. But yeah, we can't allow a player, especially considering the outlay Liverpool put out for them. Obviously, 40 million was obviously we give to RB Leipzig anyway. I think it'd be, I personally, if we are going to lose him in 12 months, I'd say it's not as easy as saying, I don't want to get rid of him, but you can't be allowing an asset to leave on a free at the player of his ability, because you've got to certainly bring a player in. I really like a player like Mark Gahey. Obviously, he's only got 12 months left on his contract. I think that would be a very sensible transfer if Liverpool were to bring him in from Crystal Palace. But obviously, Newcastle will be vying for him, mate. But I'll be disappointed to see him go, Dave. How do you feel? Like, it's just crazy to me if you're allowing a player, but we're not going to be bullied in certain transfer negotiations. If he wants to go next season on a free, then I think Liverpool won't stop him. But I think begrudgingly we will go. Sounds.
I get large parts of that, and I think it's saying about bullied. We inherited this. It's a bit of a nightmare situation for Hughes, Edwards, and all of those to get this with Ibu's current contract. It's quite clear Real, PSG are in the and I get it. Why wouldn't they be? Getting a player of that quality if you can get him on a free or a lesser price. I understand the argument. I totally get it. The whole that you can't let Ibu go on a free. The only concern I've got around that, Jack, I've got to be honest, is we all want him to sign. So let's just pull out on the table. Everyone wants Ibu to get a new contract. Of course they do. You don't want to be changing three of your back four. Of course you don't. But if he won't sign a new deal for whatever the reason, I'm not that adverse to making the choice rather than being bullied, as I'd say, to let him go on a free. Yeah. I'm not massively adverse because part of that, and this is what I believe will happen. We'll see if it unfolds. If it is PSG coming in, as many people expect, they will lowball Jack. They will make the cheeky offer because they've just, or they're about to, I should say, by Zabiani, aren't they, from Bournemouth? So they will make a low ball offer. Now, no one knows exactly how this will unfold, but if it is low ball, you're expecting around 30 to 40 million. Yeah. And then the question is, can you replace him right now as you want with that? And listen, I know they've looked at players like Mark Gay in different bits, but the thing that it comes back to for me still, Jack, in a year where I think we've got a real shot at Europe's biggest prize, the Premier League's biggest prize, do I want to be changing three of the back four? That doesn't breed continuity. And just for that as an individual statement just terrifies me. If you try, I can't think, and someone will correct us in the chat panel on this, of a team that's changed three of the back four and then won the biggest prizes in Europe and the Premier League. I might be wrong on that, but nothing springs to mind. I'd be very surprised if that's the case as well. And
you've got to, just quickly on that, Dave, sorry, mate. You've got to have a lot. That's the most important position for me and probably for you. Yeah. Is you can't be messing around with your back line. It's fair enough if you drop in one or two certain attackers in certain systems and different teams, but I think obviously with Kirk as young player, Frimpong 23, 24 as well, so he's still a lot of time develop. Van Dijk's got another 2, 3, possible 4 years in him. Depends how his development does go. But it's the most crucial point. I think goalkeeper and centre half, and then obviously speaking about forwards getting the goals. Yeah. But yeah, it's you're spot on, mate. It is a difficult situation, but one that Liverpool will get over, I'm sure, whether we do bring in, or it might just present another opportunity for certain players in the squad to step up as well. So you never know.
We'll see on that one. And for the forwards, I mean, we'll have to talk about these a little bit more shortly, but is the only thing certain in this forward line the two players that aren't on the pitch, Nunes and Chiesa? They ain't in that diagram. They're the only two you'd bet absolutely solid money are departing. Isn't that true?
Yes, 100%. Obviously, there's been speculation over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, Sam Maguire alluded to a couple of months back to his article about the Saudi interest in Nunes. There'll be a whole host of clubs coming in for him, certainly Darwin Nunes. But I think, as we've just alluded to with Ibu there, Liverpool need to start, as well as bringing in all this high caliber players, you certainly need to start getting a little bit of a kitty going for the potential sales and recoup, and you can't be allowing all your players to leave on cheap deals and all that. But yeah, I think Diaz, and I personally, I don't know how you feel, Dave, or chat as well, is obviously Diogo Jota. But as we just said about the defence, it's going to be crazy if we do make. I can't foresee Liverpool losing Jota, but I think there has to be a planning for the next 2-3 years of he's 28 Jota now. I think we need to be bringing in a bit more of a younger profile to Jota's style player as well. So, and we'll get on to the possible incomings in a sec, but I think possibly even Jota for me personally, because I still feel there's a lot of resellability in regards to a potential Wolves coming back in for him, because he's a high caliber player. And a lot of clubs in the Premier League will be biting at your heel, really, to bring him in if he was available. I still believe that even at the age of 28 as well. So, how do you feel in certain attacking options for you?
Mate, honestly, I think Núñez is off. You'd bet your house on that, realistically. No one's got any doubt on that. I think people will bet solid money on Chiesa going. It's quite clear, wants to go back to Italy, wants to play games, got the World Cup coming up. Nice and easy, straightforward on that. Gakpo, I think he stays. I know there's Bayern Munich, but it doesn't seem very live. It feels more of a contract renewal push there. Luis Diaz will probably get onto a little bit as well. And yeah, Mo Salah isn't going anywhere. But we're going to move on to the next bit now, Jack. And this is, whatever happens, the most exciting bit of the summer. And what I'm going to get you to do, Jack, is we're going to have 12 players on the pitch because you're going to put Florian Wirtz on there somewhere. And then we're going to make a big call because just the fact that Florian Wirtz is going to be in the Liverpool lineup or in the Liverpool team next season, that is the most exciting signing of the summer, whatever happens, isn't it?
Yes, certainly. Hopefully Todd Bowley's not watching or listening anyway, because he'll have a field day with this formation anyway. But yeah, he's a player that will unlock defences. And anyone just tuning in, yes, we know there's 12 on the pitch. But yeah, he's a high caliber player, mate. He's a difference maker. I think Liverpool in the years, the John Barnes, the Rushies, the Dalglishas of this world, you need special football players. And I think he falls under that bracket. Similar with Mohamed Salah. These are difference makers and certainly do deserve the modern day football players can't control their fate, but what they can control is the performances on a pitch, really. And I think it's an exciting time, Dave. I think you've covered it brilliantly over the last couple of weeks as well. I think every Liverpool fan is excited to see him come into the system. We'll get on to where he might play, but yeah, Dave, he's a real difference maker, someone that can play in between the lines, from a defensive structural point of view as well, high press, very, very similar profile in the ilk of Bobby Firmino at a similar age, again, coming from the Bundesliga. And we know data-wise, the recruitment from Liverpool, we know the profile and how they do things in terms of positional play, not just buying one player that can just play one individual position, as we'll speak about in today's episode. Obviously, as we all know, everyone's done a bit of research, even watch a couple of compilations where it's his ability to play across the forward line and even a lot of variation in that midfield, even playing as predominantly as an attacking midfielder. But I personally feel he can play in a central midfield position in a certain, if it's in the right structure, you can certainly do so, just with that ability to go up and down the pitch as well. But I think, as we know, he will be utilised higher up the pitch anyway for me.
It's a fascinating one with Florian Wirtz. I mean, you look just at the Bundesliga and his Champions League sort of statistics, 29 goal contributions. You know, he's won the title there. He literally is absolutely central to everything they do for Bayer Leverkusen, but also key in Germany. I mean, we've got an elite talent coming through the door. And to get the most of him, I mean, the stats on FB Ref are insane. You've almost just got to make there, Jack. You take the shackles of him. That's the big thing. Let him play freely. Let him do what he does and go from there. There are some, honestly, sensational stats that are on the screen there. But here's what I'm going to ask you, Jack. Let's jump back to that pitch. Let's jump back because we are cheating a little bit. We had 12 men on the pitch here, which, I mean, we win the league, wouldn't we, if we could start with 12 men each week. But if we go back to there, what I'm going to ask you as you're gearing that up exactly back to where we were is there were 12 men on that pitch. I'll let you get it in position, first of all, as to who you are deducting for that lineup. And then I'll let you put it in where you think Florian Wirtz will be and when he will play. And then we'll talk about it a bit more. So, can't have 12 on that lineup, Jacko. Nice. Delete someone. There we go. Who we're deleting.
There we go. That's who I'm taking out.
And where you moving?
There we go. Putting weight, as we know. I don't know if you checked, obviously, the heat map before. Anyway, there, chat. Do you want me to say how I personally feel we might set up in terms of this 100%. Season? Yeah, I know everyone might be tuning in going, wow, a bit mad. But as we alluded to in the section about Kirkers, it's that ability of, we've got fullbacks now, and we've seen, obviously, Arne Slot speaking quite glowingly about Paris Saint-Germain when we did play them. They are the team to identify and analyse and look to go for, because they played, quite rightly so, won the Champions League last year. Apart from Liverpool, if you take those out of the equation, Paris Saint-Germain are the best footballing side in European football since probably like last 6-8 months as well. Took a little bit of a while anyway. It's magical when Kylian Mbappe actually leaves the football club. The football club actually wins the Champions League. But we know Luis Enrique requires, and certainly what an Arne Slot team requires, that ability to go forward, up and down the pitch. But as I said, personally, we might start in a 4-3-3 shape. But in terms of, obviously, defensive transitions, I think it obviously will be a case of, obviously, Dominic Szoboszlai playing in that position, but the attacking fluidity and the defensive fluidity as well, though, Dave and chat, and anyone listening as well, it's that ability to rotate across the pitch very, very quickly as well. But obviously, from a defensive structural point of view, I think he will start in the false 9 position. But if we do get the profile, and the big point to stress from my point of view, Dave, I don't know how you feel, is it's important what the next couple of weeks will be very integral to how Liverpool will set up. Me personally, I do think Liverpool will go out and get a number 9. But if Liverpool go with Florian Wirtz in that more the false 9 position, I think personally in possession, I think Liverpool might set up it with a bit more like this anyway. Obviously, the flying fullbacks on the halfway line, Van Dijk and Ibu. And I know everyone's screaming, Dave, probably we've done countless episodes over the last year or so as well about the defensive shape. I know there's certain question marks over from certain sections of our fan base about Gravenberch being the out-and-out number 6. But for me, I've got no qualms. We've just won the league. I think he's phenomenal in defensive transitions, that ability to play like he did when we went down to 10 men against Fulham at Anfield as well. He's got that defensive understanding, even to play as a centre-half. He's a total Dutch footballer anyway. He can fill into those centre-back positions. But it's that creating of the box midfield that you alluded to at the top of the show, Dave, is the ability of Wirtz maybe starting in the wide areas, but coming into those central pockets of space, really. And that is why I said it's pivotal to get. It's going to be interesting next couple of weeks before the beginning of the season, who Liverpool go for in the number 9 position. Because it's very different if Liverpool playing a 4-2-3-1. Obviously, Wirtz in that number 10 position. But if you're playing a Gakpo, and I personally, as I said, did drag Diaz out, I think Gakpo's technical understanding is phenomenal. He's one of the best players in European football for me. Can lead the line, has done for Holland, and obviously the previous World Cup as well. Can play in a 10 position. So his technical understanding, for me, I do feel we will go with that, mate. I don't know how you feel, how in that position will play for you.
See, it's interesting. And for me, at times this season, it'll depend on opposition. It'll depend on the situation. I do think there will be times you will see, as you said, Florian Wirtz in almost a false 9. Like, for instance, if someone said to me to guess at the moment, and it is a guess, it's an educated guess, when we go to City away next season, I could well see Wirtz in a false 9 to give that box 4, as we talked about, alongside Grav, Max, Szoboszlai, and really combat, try and control that middle of the pitch. I absolutely could see that with Salah and Gakpo probably a little bit wider in that situation, but we'd have to see. The one thing, though, I'm going to ask you to do on this, Jack, is, and you probably won't like this, mate, based on what you said, but I'm going to ask you to drag Gakpo off the pitch and put Luis Diaz back on. But Luis Diaz in the middle. And I don't think it will be Diaz, people, as I'm saying this, but I'm going to ask you to move Wirtz there, for me. Yeah, absolutely. Here's what I think will happen in certain games. And when you put Wirtz on the left, I know, and I bet the chat panel will be buzzing with, he's not a left winger, he doesn't get to the byline. That's not what I'm saying. People often forget Coutinho started on the left. He was never a left winger, was he? What it often went is, a few years ago now, he would start on the left, and God, I get shivers saying this down my spine, but the nightmare that was Alberto Moreno would go past him on the outside, quite often not bother tracking back or doing anything else, or actually coming up with anything, truth be told. But that was how it looked quite often. What I think's going to happen here, Jack, is I don't think it will be Diaz. I think, he'll be gone next season, don't get me wrong. But I think there will be a 9 signed. I do think he will be where Diaz is right now. What I think will happen is Wirtz will start on the left and come in a little bit. Okay. What I suspect will happen then, and to get him in the middle where he hurts people, and the evidence of that is different team, different league, I get it. But at Leverkusen under Alonso, that kind of 3-4-2-1, wasn't it, realistically, with Wirtz being the one of the two behind Shake, but on the left side quite often drifting in and sometimes actually going out wide. Yeah, the heat map. So Kirkes bombing on will be the thing I think will happen at times. So I actually think to get the best of him, you're going to see him at times, like you said, in the false 9. I do think that will happen in maybe certain away games. I think you will see him on the left as well. The final question I want to put to you is, because it is a theory, and a lot of the journalists are right in this, he'll be the 10. And almost talking about, that attacking midfielder role. That's the third theory of where he could play. If he is the 10, the attacking midfielder, as we're going to call it that, set me up your lineup as in who's dropping out, Jack, and how it looks, as in who might be your double pivot, if you know what I mean. If Florian Wirtz is going to be your number 10, your attacking midfielder, who's dropping out for you, if that is to happen?
Yeah, I find it impossible to drop Dom. This is why there's me personally, but if we are going to be playing a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 system as well, the fluidity, it has to be a like for like, really. But me personally, I find this mad. This is why, but that's why I do think if there was going to be one player that would drop out from a system point of view, really, I do. Or even still, you know what I'm going to do? And this is what obviously I did put on one of the diagrams before. That Dominic Szoboszlai.
Wow.
Mainly due to the reason as well, chat. I've got a bit up anyway, but I don't want to. It's just a little section really from obviously Dominic Szoboszlai from a Hungary point of view. As well, there's a podcast coming out hopefully this week as well that I've done with a Hungarian football expert as well, Arne. Obviously we spoke quite a fair bit about obviously the national side, the setup from Hungary as well, where they play positionally as well. But me personally, I could see that even still, mainly due to that athletic ability, as we've alluded to there, Dave. We know the ability of the two fullbacks that will be coming to Liverpool. One's already in now as well. Hopefully, Kirkes follows suit as well. But from a defensive structural point of view, Dominic Szoboszlai, I find it impossible to drop Dom from this system, mainly due to his off-the-ball movement, like what he does off the ball. Similar to, obviously, the days of when Henderson, phenomenal in that midfield with, obviously, Fabinho and Gini Wijnaldum and Henderson with that athletic ability. I think, me personally, Dom can play that left wing position as well. And just quickly, I do apologise, chat as well. I'll just quickly show, and this is what a little bit of me research anyway, in terms of, we'll go back to that little pitch view as well. But from a positional point of view, this is obviously Dominic Szoboszlai in terms of over the last 2-3 years anyway in the Hungary national side as well. This is the positional players you can see from the heat map of Dominic Szoboszlai. And I mainly identify, just look at the heat map on obviously the left-hand side. Obviously that was Euro 20, obviously Euro qualification. And look at Dominic Szoboszlai's heat map here. And we know he plays a variety of positions for Hungary, but mainly due to this, Dave, look at that heat map on the left-hand side. For anyone listening, it's predominantly a red heat map down that left mid position, really. And I think from his international understanding, his ability to play with Kirkes, and hopefully in the years to come as well, with his obviously Hungarian left back as well, I do feel Dom might shift in certain aspects, even though we've seen Dom play in a variety of positions, especially in Germany down the right-hand side, in that attacking midfield role. How do you feel with that, Dave? I know it might be very different for a lot of people thinking as well, but he's a jack of all trades, Dominic Szoboszlai. He's a very unique footballer. When I analyse him, he can do absolutely everything if it asks him to, and even off the ball as well. His ability to just manoeuvre across the pitch quite quickly as well. I think for me personally, he's impossible to drop. I'll get back to that, obviously starting 11 as well for you, mate, as well. But how do you feel with that? I don't know.
Well, go back to that pitch, Jack, and I'll tell you where you're wrong on this. I'll correct you. Don't worry. If you bring me back those pictures, I'll give you my view, which when I say, I'm obviously being facetious there, but I agree. You cannot drop Dominic Szoboszlai at all. And it's weird, the heat, the stick he's got this season, Szoboszlai, because he's so important in terms of the ground he covers, the recovery runs. And also, I think people have actually ignored at times. I get he doesn't always pull the trigger. He doesn't always make the exact pass. I understand that. But a decent goal and assist contribution if you look at his overall picture. So I am not 1 second interested in dropping Dominic Szoboszlai. What I'm going to get you to do, Jack, is...
Who are you taking out?
People aren't going to like this. Can you drag out Ryan Gravenberch for me?
There we go.
Can you put, Dom as the 8, and then put me... I wouldn't mind Diaz staying, but I think he's going to go. But Cody Gakpo left.
There we go.
So we can obviously debate the forwards in a sec. Yeah. We're just talking about the midfield setup there. Yeah. I don't necessarily like this, and I don't think this will ultimately happen. I've told you, that it's the left-hand side and at times the false 9. But if Wirtz is going to be the 10 at any time, I don't see how you can drop the other 2. What I mean by that is Alexis McAllister is the best midfielder in the league for me, bar none. Not really interested in a debate around that, people. I just think he's the best midfielder. He's world class. He's always going to be on the team sheet if he's fit, week in, week out. Szoboszlai's qualities are that important. In terms of, if you look at that right-hand side right now, you could have a situation where, as it is, as Jack's got it there, Frimpong and Salah on the right-hand side. Jack, who's going to do the defending and running if it's them two? Because we know Mo Salah, we know what he does, and obviously he's elite and everything like that, but we know what he's told not to do. Frimpong is going to, bomb on and all that. I think Szoboszlai's recovery runs are going to be so crucial on that right. So that if Wirtz is a 10, and it's a massive if, what I am going for. But the only question I wanted to ask to sort of piece all this together for you was, based on what we've seen there, Wirtz is the 10, Wirtz on the left, Wirtz is false 9. What was the one you liked the most?
Wirtz as 10, mate. I don't think... There's no way... It's like buying a Ferrari and only being allowed to drive it around an Asda car park. It's just not going to happen, really, is it? So, when you're utilising a player of his ability in that number 10 role, Florian Wirtz, you've got to play him personally in his best position. But as we've already said, he's got that ability to play anywhere across the pitch in that attack and forward line. But he's got the type of personality. He's going to be putting in the legwork. He's going to be putting in an absolute shift from a defensive point of view, and even just creating attacking opportunities as well. So me personally, I think it will be a number 10. But as you alluded to before, Bud, is that ability to play off the left-hand flank. But as is modern football, you've got to have that ability and flexibility. I think the main thing is for me is flexibility and that ability to be very adaptable in transition and out of transition as well, especially in European games as well. I think we very much found that out in the second leg at Anfield last year. You just look at Zaire Emery and the type of caliber PSG were just throwing on in the second half of extra time. Just that's the quality. They're the tempo setters, really. They are the team to beat in the Champions League for me next season. And Liverpool want to be winning our number 7th anyway, and hopefully that's the case, mate. But how do you feel in that? Obviously, do you think your positional?
It's difficult. Again, it sounds like a politician's answer. I get this as I'm saying it, but I do think we will see him as all three. But ultimately, from what I've seen and what I've heard, I do like the idea. And again, I think people pick it up wrong. Wirtz starting on the left. That does not mean he's going to be a left winger. It's starting on the left, coming inside, with Kirkes being the roadrunner past. And I think, like you, there will be a new attacker coming into the mix at the same time. That is exactly what I think will happen. But either way, mate, he's in the lineup. As long as Wirtz is on the pitch, yeah, that's all you're looking for. Which, the final bit of the show, Jack, the attacking shape up. Now, we got to talk about this because we all said Núñez gone. That's pretty certain. I think everyone would bet solid money on that. No one expects Chiesa to be there, but neither of them two are in the picture right now. Luis Diaz is, but he's just off the pitch right now. Do you think you're ever going to see him on the pitch for Liverpool again?
I love him as a player, mate. I'm being honest. And I, for one, last season was going. It won't work in the false 9 position. He's had his best season to date in a Liverpool shirt. The wages, £50,000 reported. He's on. Obviously, if he is to stay at Liverpool, he would probably get a new contract with an extra probably 2, 3, 4 year contract as well. Because if we had more of Diaz in the team, I think it just allows Liverpool to play a variety of positions. We've already spoken today's episode is you can never have enough good footballers on the pitch. And I think Diaz, but as we report over the last couple of weeks, reportedly attracting a lot of interest from the Saudi Pro League and other top European clubs as well. Obviously, i.e. Barcelona, but I don't personally feel he will go there because you just haven't got the cash, as you've alluded to already this season, mate, in all the shows as well. So for me, I love him. I'd like to keep him at Liverpool because I think if we were to lose him, similar with certain other positions we've mentioned already today in today's pod, I don't want to be leaving us too short going into what we're just a couple of weeks really until the new season starts. So I think keep him in the squad, mate, but not play him as a striker. I think, as I said at the top of the show, I think Liverpool need to go out and get an elite level number 9, a player that will win you Champions Leagues, win you Premier Leagues. Obviously, Diaz has already done that, but I think on a more consistent basis, really. But he's a great option to have in the squad, Dave. But if a bid of 70, 80 million pound comes in, I think it'll be extremely difficult, given his current contract predicament, to not listen to the offers. How do you feel with Diaz at the moment?
It's difficult with Diaz a little bit in the sense of it's quite clear Liverpool are not going to offer him a renewal. That's through all the reports. So that is not going to happen, which is ultimately, I think, one of the things Diaz is looking for. I do think his first port of call, as we said in the transfer show, is he would love to go to Barcelona. Of course we would. We know he's spoken about it. His old man, all those types of things. But Barcelona and their finances, I mean, it does look like they're trying for Nico Williams, and if that's unsuccessful, okay, they pivot back to Luis Diaz. But we just don't foresee a world in which Barcelona are ever going to pony up with the cash we're looking for. So I just struggle to see that happening, which then comes into the mix. The Saudi side, I think everyone's expecting that offer to come, which then brings it into a case of, okay, stay at Liverpool, you're not going to get a contract. Go to Saudi, and you are a little bit in the football wilderness. You've got to say that honestly, but you're getting that wage increase. You're getting the better weather that you're looking for. So ultimately, Luis Diaz, I think, will make that decision. And listen, it's a toss of a coin a little bit for me, but I do think right now, I'm going to ask you to drag him out, Jack, to be honest. I think Luis Diaz isn't, and I wouldn't bet solid money on this, but isn't a Liverpool player by the start of next season, which means there's a big hole in that number 9 spot. So I'll let you go first, Jack. Drag the player who would be the perfect answer for you right now in that number 9 slot.
It's that man. I think you and Bart have done plenty of episodes as well. We had to check out, and obviously Anfield Index. I've been watching them and studying myself as well. It's he's an intelligent football player, Julian Alvarez. He's got all, and we've seen that already in the Premier League. I think he's got all the attributes, and this is what we spoke about Florian Wirtz as well. There's not many. I think Bobby was the brain of that Jurgen Klopp side, as we know. He was the one, the first name on the team sheet for Jurgen and for the majority of Liverpool fans out there as well. And I think Julian, if he was coming back to life in England, I know people have mentioned he didn't like, reportedly, allegedly, that he didn't like the weather and all that. But I think Julian Alvarez is motivated by winning trophies. He was integral to, obviously, Argentina winning a World Cup as well. Now everyone speaks about, obviously, Leo Messi's, the amount of penalties he did score in Qatar as well in that brilliant campaign the whole Argentina side had. But I think his technical understanding as well, and that ability to play in between the lines, play in the pockets of space as well. I think he's a better option than the certain Frankfurt forward that we will mention in a little second as well. But I think he's an absolute elite level number 9. And the fact that Liverpool, I think, we're in a position now, and for the years to come as well, but win now, Dave. Don't be waiting 2-3 years down the line. If you're bringing in Wirtz, you go in, you go, but you go out and get a player of the profile of the ilk of a Julian Alvarez to come in and be your forward. I don't know how you feel.
It's the one thing I find fascinating, and I mean fascinating in this whole discussion, is that it's quite clear. Everyone thinks it's unrealistic, but it's clear as day. Liverpool's top target for this position is Alexander Isak, but there's just no world in which any of us can foresee that Liverpool will get Alexander Isak to Liverpool because of Newcastle being in the Champions League, the price it would take, the money, the other things that need to be done in the summer. But Alvarez, like you said, he is absolutely, for me, the manifestation signing, the one you'd want. And there's a couple of things to mention on this. Liverpool clearly like him, as you know, the Sam Maguire reports and other things. Atletico like some of our players, it's certain as well. They like Robbo. They clearly like Darwin Núñez. So then you just, again, you could be 2-2 and getting 27, but you start to think, you could manifest that and you could make the link, however tenuous it would be. Like you said, there's talk about wife not liking England, the weather, different bits. There's all that to go into the mix. But even Simeone's talking yesterday about, them needing to do deals and buy players based on their defeat, and they got well whooped by PSG, didn't they, in the Club World Cup? But I just think I'm looking at his stats here, Jack. 24 goals across La Liga and Champions League in a defensive team with 5 assists, so 29 goal contributions. And it's important to say that they're really low scorers, Atletico Madrid traditionally as well. It's so important to emphasize that at the same time. So it does really shine, but I'm not saying it's a leap. It just feels you can say that, I suppose, very difficult to do. So you mentioned him before, Hugo Ekitike. If we drag him on the pitch and Alvarez comes out, what does, and this maybe feels more realistic, it's fair to say, what does that give us if we get Ekitike?
An elite level poacher, I think, even at a young age as well. I think he's one of these, and we know, obviously, reports a couple of seasons ago that the data lads did have him on some of the targets as well. So obviously Edwards and the lads allegedly liked his profile as a player prior to the move for Darwin Núñez as well. You can understand why he's perfect for the data lads as well. Great profile. Obviously, I'm not too sold, but it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what obviously the data lads and the recruitment do feel as well. But it's an intriguing striker, Dave, and chat. I think everyone's screaming when everyone speaks about Ekitike is, oh, we've just done a project signing with Darwin Núñez for 3-4 years. It hasn't worked out. As I said, with Alvarez, this is why me personally, Alvarez, you bring him in, he's plug and play really straight away. He doesn't take any time to adapt, already played in the Premier League as well. His ability to play, obviously, in a 2, his ability to play on his lone striker as well, Ekitike. He can certainly mix and match in terms of his teammates as well at Frankfurt in Germany. I know I've seen some compilations of his misses as well, but what he does do really well from what I've analysed over the last couple of weeks as well, from what I've seen of him, is his ability to get a shot off. And I know, obviously, everyone goes, oh, he's a striker, he's a number 9 as well. But the fact that he creates a large majority of the space for himself as well. He's a big lad, 6'2", 6'3", very, very physical. He can mix and match. He can go physically, he can go long, he can play the ball on the ground as well. And that's certainly a type of profile that would do well at Liverpool, but this is why obviously Julian Alvarez. But yeah, I don't know how you feel, Dave. Do you think he will be Liverpool's number 9 priority?
Do you know what? I actually think, and again, there's a lot that could unfold in this time, and obviously the window 2 open today. I mean, I actually get the feeling that it will be Ekitike, honestly, because I think Isak will prove out of bounds, so will Alvarez eventually. I do think when you start to look at the others, and there's always a gamble, a project forward element, as some will say, but the reason that I think Ekitike is, I mean, he's nearly 23, I think he's 23 in 4 days' time. If you look at this season, he got 19 goals across the Bundesliga and the Europa, 11 assists as well. His top speed, because the Bundesliga produced their stats as well. He is rapid. Yeah. He's a bit of a rangy striker, maybe to grow into his physique. And people will also jump on the fact that he does miss chances. As understat shows it that, he's well below his XG. But the one thing I always say to that is you'll usually look at what we call the mean, the medium. So if it reverts to normal, he should score goals. He's young and developing. And you'd like to see Arne work with him personally. The other reason I think it will actually eventually be him, Jack, if it isn't, as we suspect, Isak and Alvarez, pace. Just the pure pace. Speed is the weapon in the Premier League, as we know, and for all the skill, the guile, the cleverness of Wirtz and of Salah, just someone who isn't Darwin, of course, who can just burn on the top line and link it together a bit like that. I do think it will be him. I suppose the final question I was asking, we've not really got anyone else there bar one person who I don't like this name coming up, but it does keep coming up to us time and time again. Anthony Gordon is on the sideline there, Jack. And if it is Anthony Gordon, I suppose drag out whoever you think, and where do you see it for Anthony Gordon fitting in for you if he does come into the mix?
Out and out left winger, mate, isn't he? I think is the players, we've lost Trent, obviously an English player, Elliott potentially leaving as well. Not that we're just signing players and the profile just being English and fitting the quota. We're bringing, if he was to come in, me personally, he loves winding up the Everton lot, so that's a big tick in my box for the recruitment if it was on it anyway. He's a very high caliber player, mate. I think, and everyone goes obviously last season when the links with Liverpool did surface and a lot more speculation did happen, his form did dissipate really. It did drop off a cliff really for me personally. Yeah. But I think having that ability, if Diaz is to go, I think he's the most similar profile in terms of Diaz. I think similar to Diaz when he played in a 4-4-2 system at Porto prior to his move to England. He's got all the ability, Gordon, to play in a left mid position, or certainly in that left attacking midfield role, or the further wide position down the wing as well. But again, Dave, he's a player that would certainly excite me. I think Rodgers, he's out of the realms of possibility, or out of reach. Obviously, Morgan Rodgers, the Aston Villa player. Liverpool certainly need to maybe get one or two players in, and we need to go out and get the best in the business in terms of English profile as well. And we know they come with a premium as well, though, Dave. He won't come in for like 50, 60 million. I think he would come in at 70, 80. It would be a high fee, but depending on the great negotiating from Richard Hughes and the technical lads as well. We know he can do a couple of wheeling dealings anyway, mate, but he's a player certainly would tick a lot of the profile for the data lads as well. But mainly his most important asset is football and quality. He's a very intelligent footballer. I think his intelligence, Dave, for me, is one of the biggest things that not doesn't get overplayed, but I think it's massively undervalued. Gordon, his technical understanding. I think that's certainly, when you look at players coming into Liverpool, you've most importantly got to understand systems and that. And I think him coming in, Dave, I think would certainly tick a lot of boxes and he would thrive. How do you feel in terms of Gordon possibly coming in?
If Anthony Gordon arrives at Anfield this summer, I'm going to need to spend an hour deleting about 26,000 tweets and opinions, in all honesty, from the record, if that does happen. But I do get the elements, don't get me wrong. It's rapid, homegrown, loves to, Liverpool's his dream club. I understand all that. I just also look at certain things that 11 goal contributions in all competitions this season. I get analysts have mentioned to us before that if you look at his profile right now, it profiles very similarly to Jota at Wolves and Mane at Southampton in terms of the numbers and where they think it could go. So I get that. I also think you would be overpaying whatever, as you said. It's Newcastle. There's an English premium that will be attached. So 70 and 80 million, as in if we have that money to start with to spend on an attacker, I struggle to see that Anthony Gordon is the best option. And if he is the answer, I'm not sure I like the question we're necessarily answering. That I would rather, if I'm honest, in terms of ranking it, I would rather after Wirtz is Ekitike then, if anything, was the next set. Obviously, we know we want Isak and Alvarez, but they're going to be unattainable by the looks of it. So that's just something I would say. But I'm not popular in the chat panel, Anna. You can see that, eh?
Oh, behave, chat. I've chatted a load to him today as myself. But it's the thing is, it's as you said, Dave, and you're spot on. He will come with a premium, and I get everyone to go straight away. As you said, Dave, is under the underlying metrics, and let's be honest, he's playing in a Newcastle team. And sorry, Newcastle fans, don't come for me, but when you come into a European big dog as we are and Premier League champions, the performance level of a Gordon, performance level of a Florian Wirtz, then when you play with week in, week out, you're playing with elite level footballers in different positions. You're training, you're coming up against Virgil van Dijk in training. Gordon's game will massively increase. He's not coming up against Fabian Schär in training every single week anyway, being honest. If he was to come to Liverpool, I think him, statistically, as you alluded to, his data and his output would massively improve as well for me. So.
Will be interesting to see, Jack. But there we go, ladies and gents. We looked at it all, didn't we? We talked about the summer so far. There's going to be a lot to happen. We guarantee it, ins and outs. We talked about how you get the best from Florian Wirtz. I mean, you've got to get him central. You've got to get him on the ball. You've got to get him conducting everything, whether that's false nine, whether starting on the left, whether you have him as the 10, that will be up to you. Maybe we'll even see all three. And for the attacking shape this summer, well, Núñez is going. You wouldn't expect Chiesa to be here. You've got question marks against Diaz. You might want an Isak. You might want an Alvarez, but you might end up with an Ekitike or maybe even the nightmare for some that is Anthony Gordon. But the dream for others, as the chat panel proves, we'll have to see. All it leaves me to say as ever is, Jack, for the board, for the time, for sharing your thoughts and opinions, pal. It is much appreciated.
You're welcome, mate. Thank you for having me on, and enjoy the rest of your day, Reds, as well.
Good stuff. And ladies and gents, that was the first positional play for Anfield Index.